The wind howled across the dry plains the night they cast her out. Mara wrapped her thin shawl tighter around her shoulders, though it did nothing against the cold. The small village she had called home was now shrinking behind her with every step she took. Lanterns flickered in the windows, and shadows moved inside, families gathering for supper, children laughing, the life she would never have again. Infertile, they whispered, a widow useless, a burden. Her husband had died of fever 2 winters ago. She had no children to carry his name, no family strong enough to defend her, and no man willing to claim her. In their cruel eyes, that made her easy to discard. So they ordered her to leave with nothing but the clothes she wore and the bread she carried. She walked for hours until the lights of the village disappeared completely, until the cold bit into her bones and her legs trembled. She did not know where she was going, only that she had nowhere left to go. When she could no longer move, she collapsed beside a fence post and let the tears finally fall. "God," she whispered, "if there is even an ounce of mercy left for me, please show me where to go." But the prairie offered no answers. Just wind. Just silence. Just darkness. Morning came slowly, warming the land with pale gold light. Mara's eyes fluttered open at the sound of hooves. She jerked upright in fear, scrambling back, expecting outlaws or worse. Instead, a large chestnut horse stopped a few feet away. Its rider, a tall man in a weathered coat, watched her with steady eyes the color of storm clouds. "You all right, ma'am?" he asked. His voice was deep, calm, nothing like the harsh tone she had grown used to. She swallowed hard. "I'm just passing through." He looked at her shoes, torn from walking, her shawl, too thin for the frost, and the way she hugged herself as if holding her body together. "You look half frozen," he said gently. "My ranch ain't far. You can come warm up, get some water." She shook her head. I can't impose." "Ma'am," he said, stepping down from his horse, "it ain't imposing if someone needs help, and you look like you need it." There was something in his eyes, kindness maybe, or simply honesty, enough to make her exhale and nod faintly. He helped her onto the horse, his hands warm against her cold arms. As they rode, she dared to ask, "What's your name?" "Caleb Turner," he said, "rancher, widow." He paused. "You?" "Mara." "That's a pretty name," he said softly. Caleb lived on a large ranch surrounded by miles of rolling land. But it wasn't the house or the size of the property that surprised her, it was the noise. Laughter, footsteps, a crash somewhere inside followed by a child yelling. It was him. 4 children burst out the door the moment Caleb rode in. Alice, the oldest at around 11, fiercely protective. Samuel, a mischievous boy of 9. Thomas, shy and gentle, age 7. And little Rosie, only 4, with curls bouncing as she ran. "Pa, you're late," Rosie shouted, grabbing his leg. Caleb scooped her up. "Had a reason, we've got a guest." All 4 children stared at Mara with wide, curious eyes. Caleb carried Rosie inside. "Come on in, Miss Mara. You look like you could use a seat." Inside the house, the warmth hit her like a wave. A fire crackled in the hearth. The smell of bread filled the air. The children whispered among themselves, peeking at her. Alice stepped forward. "Are you staying for breakfast?" Caleb looked at Mara, waiting to see if she would answer. If it's not trouble," Mara said quietly. Alice smiled up at her, a genuine smile. "Pa always says no one goes hungry here." Mara sat at the long wooden table, and for the first time in years, someone handed her a warm cup of tea without judgment, without suspicion. The children asked her questions, where she came from, if she liked horses, if she knew stories. She hadn't realized she was crying until Caleb placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're safe here," he said softly. Safe. She hadn't heard that word in years. Days turned into a week turned into more. Mara offered to leave a dozen times, but every time she tried, Caleb would frown and say, "What sense does it make to send a wounded person back into the cold?" She cooked, she cleaned, she mended clothes, and slowly, very slowly, she began to feel like she was part of something again. One evening, she found Samuel outside struggling to fix a broken toy horse. His lip trembled, but he insisted he wasn't crying. She knelt beside him. "May I help?" He shoved it toward her, and then turned his face away so she wouldn't see his tears. Within minutes, she had repaired it. When she handed it back, he whispered, "Thanks, Ma." He froze, eyes wide, face pale, as if he'd said something forbidden. I didn't mean, Pa says, I just... Mara placed a hand on his cheek. "It's okay, Samuel." But he ran inside. That night, little Rosie crawled into Mara's lap by the fireplace and fell asleep clutching her skirt. Mara didn't have the heart to move her. When Caleb entered, he found them like that, her rocking Rosie gently, humming a soft tune. He stood there silently until she looked up. "I should go," she whispered. "They're getting attached. I don't want to confuse them." Caleb walked over and knelt beside her. "Mara, maybe they need someone like you." Her throat tightened. "But I can't give you children. The whole town knows it. That's why they cast me out." Caleb reached up and took her trembling hand. "My kids don't need someone to give them more siblings," he said. "They need someone to love them." A tear slipped down her cheek. "But I'm just a burden." He shook his head. "You're a blessing." Everything changed one morning when the children burst into the kitchen, breathless and excited. "Ma, Ma," Thomas shouted, grabbing her apron. Mara blinked. "Ma." Alice nodded firmly. "We decided you're our Ma now." Rosie climbed into Mara's lap and kissed her cheek. "You're my mama," she whispered sleepily. Mara covered her mouth with her hands as tears streamed down her face. She had dreamed of being called Mama, but never thought she'd hear it. Caleb stepped into the doorway, watching the scene. His voice was rough with emotion when he finally spoke. "Well, sounds like the vote is unanimous." She looked at him through tears. "Caleb, are you sure?" He crossed the room, lifted her chin with one gentle finger and said, "I didn't just bring you here to warm up. I brought you here because the second I saw you on that road, something in me said, that woman belongs with us. My kids saw it too." He paused. "And maybe you just needed a family as much as we did." The children tackled her with hugs, burying her in warmth she thought she had lost forever. And for the first time in her life, Mara felt chosen. Not for what she could give, not for what she could provide, but for who she was. The infertile widow who had been cast out was now Ma to 4 children who needed her more than they needed anything else in this world. And standing behind them with love in his eyes was the rancher who quietly, patiently, gave her back the one thing life had stolen from her. A family,